So when you speak assertively, you are on level ground with your spouse, and it's a really healthy way to communicate. Seesaws are fun for playgrounds, but seesaws are not fun for communicating. And when you use those ugly styles of being passive or aggressive or passive aggressive, you're actually making the communication unlevel. And so imagine a carpenter's level and how valuable it is to have it be absolutely level. Well, that's what you're trying to do in assertive communication. Now, there are some common techniques that people use naturally that make communication unlevel. And we want to draw your attention to it because we know that if you know what they are, you will catch yourself doing it and be more likely to correct it and be level.
Yeah, and the easiest way to start trying to be assertive is recognize when you're not being assertive. All right, so the first one we want to talk about is what we call character assassination. Now, this really, many people do a lot, and the idea is that it ends up moving the issue to the person versus keeping the issue. So if we were to say this wonderful family greenhouse coffee mug is the issue, and let's say it's taking out the garbage, that this is my issue, taking out the garbage. If I move it to Abigail, now she's a bad person because she didn't take out the garbage. I'm attacking her, not the issue itself. And I can't fix her. But we together, as a team, can fix the issue. And so you keep it, the assertive communication allows you to keep the issue, and not make the person the issue.
Character assassination just feels bad. It feels bad. If I think I'm a bad mom, bad wife, bad household provider, whatever it may be, it's not good. Another way that people make it unlevel is to give insults and call each other names. And so if you're catching yourself calling your spouse lazy or a jerk or selfish or things like that, it's really not helpful. And when you start to realize you're doing that, step back, maybe do the 3 Ps, pray, process, and plan to
Take
identify.
a time out.
Because you're bullying with your language.
Yeah, and that's very, as you said, it's very aggressive language. And again, you're going back to, in many ways, character assassination. Now you're attacking the person, not the issue. Well, the next thing that's really easy to do is what we call kitchen sinking. This is actually all from John Gottman, and I want to, we didn't create these, but he does talk about them. And kitchen sinking is you keep throwing everything into the situation. You didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and your mama raised a fool, and why are you this way? And you just keep piling on.
Last week you did this, and a year ago you didn't do that.
Yeah, and when we were engaged, remember how you said you would do this and you didn't do it? Yeah. We've been married for 30 years. You're going back to engagement, right? And you just and part of that is you're not actually resolving the issues. So they keep coming back up. Now we have a whole other video series on conflict resolution. But in this one, we want to help you at least identify when you do this. Know that there may be some forgiveness issues and there may be some other things that are preventing you from being assertive one thing at a time.
Okay, another popular technique that people use is cross-complaining. And what that means is I bring up an issue to Scott. I say, hey, you didn't empty the dishwasher.
Well, you didn't say you didn't cut the grass.
So immediately we get nowhere because we're not going to address the first issue I brought up because the other person brings up something that they have a problem with. Now, this is very common because we get defensive and we do both have issues with each other, of course. But in using the formula, for example, you want to be very specific and say, I'm feeling this, this is a positive, this is an issue. And the last thing I want to come back with is for him to say another issue because we need to stay focused on that one issue that the first person brought up. And it really makes it difficult to bring up another issue to try to solve. What happens is you're way less likely to actually solve either issue and you're probably going to get in a fight.
Well, and I think you made a great point about bringing up the assertive communication formula from the last video. Because when you go into it saying this formula, it's really hard to bring up the other issue. Because it's very directive. I want to find time to talk about this.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's find time to talk about that. Great. Then you come back and talk about it. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have issues yourself that you want to deal with. You just don't deal with it right then.
Right.
And you come back at another time and schedule at the same time. Well, then the final thing we want to talk about in this video is what we call complain constantly. You may know the people that do this. They're like the sitcom moms. If you ever guys remember Everybody Loves Raymond, there was a mom who's always complaining, and even in a positive, she'll find the negative, right? They find the gray in every silver cloud or every rainbow. They're going to find the gray, and so that's the, hey, thanks for being on time for once, or I really appreciate that you actually did the laundry this week.
Yeah, and wow, the car, it's working, I guess, you know, even though it's a crummy car.
I mean, you said you changed the oil last week, but I'm sure you're just busy. Yeah, and it's just constant things that just beat the person down. And we want to, sometimes you'll hear people go, but I have rights. You're right, you do. But you also have the right to hurt people. And that's really what you're doing. And we want to help avoid that by instead speaking in a way that's positive. So that's what we have for this session. Use your assertive communication formula. Use your active listening.
And keep that communication level.
That's it. All right. Thanks, guys.